Okay, there it should be recording. Okay,
Quick
you
question
guys,
before you start
sure.
about the exam. Um, is the exam going to take place on like Blackboard, like online, or is it gonna be like a test that we have to take in the testing center or like in person?
I haven't decided that yet because I feel like I struggle with online tests because like you can just like go look up the answers and that really defeats the purpose. So I'm thinking about how I want to do this, if I want to do it in the testing center because I don't know like when you guys are available to go to the school to take the test. Like if this is the only time you're able to, like you work all day long and you take night classes, it's going to be really hard for somebody to go to the testing center because I'm not even sure how late they're open. Yeah. So let me think about that for a minute. You're talking, but I can't hear you.
I think they're only open until like 3, but they
Yeah,
don't
like
take more people after like 1:30 or something like that.
especially on Fridays, I think they close early
An
and
hour
there's always
before
a
they
really
close
long
is they
line.
don't take anyone.
Yeah. And I know that one of my kids has really a struggle to try and get in, take their test and get in on time. Um, because it closes so early. And the teacher like doesn't, the teacher, this is really funny. The teacher doesn't release it until 10 o'clock, but then I think it closes at like 1 or something. And you have to get there an hour early. Like he only gives you like, and if you have accommodations, you're supposed to be able to get extra time for it. So like you'd have to be there like right at 10, like as soon as it's released. And if you want to have like get in on time and get it done on time. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the testing center either. Okay. We left off with slab serifs. I'm sorry, slab serifs. Um, they're kind of cute. I like them. AKA Egyptian from the 1900s. These newspaper headlines, these were used for newspaper headlines and product advertising, resulting in more attention-grabbing type styles in the 19th century, which led to typefaces being made more robust to withstand the industrial printing press. Slab serifs have thick block lines at the end of their strokes. They are sometimes curved as the claridon, but most often unbracketed like Rockwell. And as you can imagine, they didn't hold up under all of the industrial stamping, pushing, prodding. I don't know if any of you have taken type printing before. I took printmaking. That's very fun. And you would be very, very sympathetic to those who had to do print presses back in the day because it's exhausting. Okay, the next one is grotesque, aka Gothic. That is also from the early 1900s. The first sans serif typefaces were known as grotesque, as in ugly, due to their rejection of the elegance of historic serif styles. Some grotesque fonts have a double story layout for their letters G and A, as seen in Franklin Gothic. There is also a little flair left over from the serif era, with early grotesques having a little contrast in their strokes. I do like these little stories they have here and this little flare at the top. I do like them.
How would you have like an A that has the double story?
I'd have to look up a Franklin Gothic, but it's kind of like this kind of thing going on. Um, I'd have to look it up to show you what it looks like. We can do that afterwards. But here's just another, just to let you know, adding to the group is Rockwell, Clarendon, and Franklin Gothic, if you can get them. I think I tried getting Franklin Gothic off of there recently, and I don't think I could. I have, like, I have all these because go to the school if you can. Okay. Neo-grotesque. Neo-grotesque is a subclass classification of grotesque typeface, which refers to the later design from the 1900s. These fonts completely abandon the traditional characteristics to make them simpler and minimalistic. There's little or no contrast in the stroke, and the terminals are usually perfectly straight, giving them a more geometric appearance. Helvetica Universe is another one that's good, and are some of the most popular neo-grotesque typefaces. So, like I think we talked about before with the serif fonts, we have the straight up and down now. It's not really straight, but as opposed to when the serifs were more in the handwriting style that were more angled to the left because that's how people were writing them. But now we're getting into the period where everything's minimalist, modern, and they're going far, far away from the serifs. Then we get into the humanist of the 1900s. While some typographers were crafting neo-grotesque typefaces, others still wanted to retain some elements of human writing. So humanist sans serif typefaces also emerged in the 1900s. Similar to humorous serifs, this style includes some stroke modification to give their letters a friendlier appearance. Gill sans, here's another one, and Optima are popular humanist sans serifs. Optima I like. So it's not totally uniformed. It's got a little bit of narrowing here at this high point, and it's still high contrast. Now we have the geometric, which is really very geometric. Just like the modern serif, geometric typefaces are the result of taking the design trend to the edge. Geometric fonts go a step further than the geo-grotesque with their simplicity by basing the letter forms on geometric shapes. These fonts are ultra modern, but their structure makes them awkward to read, especially in lowercase. Futura and Avant-Garde are great examples. There's two more. Avant-Garde are great examples of this style. Futura in particular, if you look at the whole alphabet, is very spiky. Like their N's and their M's are literally like triangles. They can be hard to read because I lose my attention in reading by looking at like the little letters and how they are so and Josephine is like that too, very sharp and very structured. Especially like this T here, this is very interesting T because if you look at it, it's smaller on one side than on the other. It's a very interesting font. I like Futura and Josephine particularly.
Would that be an improper like sans serif to use in body text? Like, is that
Yeah, generally I have used this and Josephine as headers. So it's more of a display type. It works better as a display type than it would in especially large amounts of text. You do not want to use this as much.
okay?
Cool. So there's my references for that. And then we're going to go into a quick bit about classifications. So typefaces can be classified in many different ways. They are often gathered into groups based on similar features. Serifs, sans serif, slab serif, script faces, decorative faces, and other categories like Comic Sans. Just kidding. Each font classification offers designers unique opportunities to express moods, messages, and brand identities. Choosing the right font can significantly improve the effectiveness and engagement of the intended message. It's important to note that type classifications don't follow rigid rules. Putting fonts into buckets helps us understand the amazing variety in their designs. Through putting them all into buckets would be nearly impossible, which is why the next one, this is a general overview of what we just went over. And although these are categorized into serif and sans serifs, when we go to the next one, you'll see that there's more to it than that. And there's a bit of like Times is a good one for reading. There's some in here like Bodoni, Bauer Bodoni is in here. Shelley Allegro, that's one that's used a lot on the wine bottles. And some displays like, I don't even know, Heavy Heap, not even seen before. So these would be more along the lines of used only for display and only for certain types of moods or different types of venues that you want to use them on. So this is just gives you this is good because it gives you a little bit of background on each one. Like it's a short snippet of what I just talked about above, like the axis curve, the bracket, the serif brackets, thick, thin. So it gives you a little bit more information on each group and what they are made up of. Like here is the um, sans serifs up and down traditional. So it goes from old to traditional to serif and modern. So you can see the progression and the changes and monospacing, um, evenly spaced between letter forms. Like if you hear monospacing, that's what that means. Display is basically anything that's not doesn't fit into a type category or a type face. It's a usually a one-off. It only has one way of using it. Like it's all uppercase or all lowercase, or you can only use it for display. It cannot be read. And then there's ornamental.
I had a question. What are the ornaments? Like, what's the purpose of those?
Like if you're doing, they're handy if you're doing um a restaurant menu and you want to add little things, little tiny things on the menu next to some of the information. You can use those for that, or some people use them as decoratives or borders, or you can even take them and make them into like a spray paint in Illustrator, and you can like spray it on things, and you can use them for a lot of different things.
I don't know why I didn't put that. That's okay, cool.
Another one is wood type. I don't know if it's still available, but it also has more of the ornamental type of things, like um, like little swooshes or little dashes that you would put on like an elegant menu or like a wedding invitation. It's good to know. And then there's families. A family. So there's a font and then there's a family. A family is a group of typefaces bound together by similar visual characteristics. Type families consist of different weights and widths. The font family depicted below is Helvetica. Helvetica. Behold, Helvetica. That's why it's like, how can you live without Helvetica? There's so many choices. I don't know how you could ever live without Helvetica. One of my favorite is the Ultra Light Extended. So it's basically a a font that was invented, and then they went on to create all of the variations. If you find out the history of font and creations of font of type families, italic came first. So they were there in each one after that and after that and after that. And I think that's it. No? Do I have more? But wait, there's more. Type measurements. This is like one of my arch nemesises. Type measurements. I hate them. Is anybody taking typography or had like any kind of other typography information before? Oh, I had one typography teacher that's like, know your points, know your picas, know your inches. I really, really, really struggle with this. 12 points equals one pica. 6 picas equal 1 inch. 1 inch equals 72 points. If you use this, which you probably will if you're really into typography and you really are minuscule and really thinking about things, or you're in Europe and you use pica over inches, or points over picas because there's there's all those options in Illustrator. Math is not my friend, so I go with my inches all the time. And if I have to figure it out, I'll get out a calculator and figure it out. Because I don't know if anybody likes math here. It's not for me. Okay, so we saw this before, leading, vertical spacing between lines of type measured from baseline to baseline, tracking, overall letter spacing adjustment, kerning, space adjustment between individual letters, baseline shift, and this is where you go below the baseline. And I don't even know how to say this. Nomenclature, I don't know if somebody else knows how to say it, for specifying point size, leading, writing as a fraction. Oh, another one of my arch nemesis fractions. Type sampled above, measurements 24 to 26 gallards, flush left, paragraph alignment, justification can be flush right, flush right, rag left, centered, justified, or force justified. So if you guys, these are things that are on that list of things. Pica points, I think, are on there. Alignments on there, justified. I think flush left, flush right's on there. Justified and forced. I don't know if force justified's on there at all. Never justify, never justify, never justify.
I think you pronounce it nomenclature.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
needed that. Yeah. So this is also in Blackboard under presentations under history and classifications. And there was something else I needed to tell you about. Oh, did we watch that? We watched that video about how to double and triple and quadruple fonts. Like if I'll do a presentation on it. If your type is this much, then your header needs to be that much more. Double it, triple it, quadruple it. I think it's by twos. Double it or quadruple it is the rule. There's other rules I'm going to go through about what your line spacing should be, your lettering should be compared to your letters as well. That we'll go over. But that was it. And I need to stop recording. Where is the stop recording? Pause or stop recording.